It's time to shake things up again. At least that is the mating call of Vince McMahon when he came up with the idea to reinstitute the brand split. Come July 19th, Raw and SmackDown will be separate once again because this worked so well last time. But I have to ask, what if I booked the brand split? Who am I? Well, I'm just a know-nothing smarky Mark that thinks he knows better than the most popular wrestling promotion in the world. So this is WW What If I booked the brand split. Rules for this WW What If, I'm going to go from the draft to WrestleMania. I don't plan on booking past that point because maybe we want to reintegrate the rosters again because it's been a flaming disaster and a lot can change, injuries, yada yada yada. I'll be using the current roster with one exception. I don't want to do a mass NXT call-up because despite what some portions of the internet think, I believe the WWE current roster has enough talent to hold 2 shows. The big 4 pay-per-views, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania will all be shared pay-per-views between Raw and SmackDown. Other than that, the shows will alternate. There will be no, I repeat, no second world title. Will be only, and I'll be sticking primarily to the main event scene for the sake of time. We're going to start the night of the draft. This is going to be a week before the actual brand split takes place, and the show's going to open up with Vince McMahon coming out and explaining the rules of the draft. First, the rules for champions are laid out. That everyone will be eligible to be drafted, and champions will defend their title on the show they're drafted to. However, the women's tag team and WWE champion will alternate between the shows they defend on. 1 month from a challenger on Raw, 1 month they'll defend from a challenger on SmackDown. The challengers will be determined by a combination of the general manager and an outside championship council, kind of harking back to the NWA days where they sort of picked who'd challenge for the title amongst the territories. Like I said, everyone will be eligible to be drafted. However, the WWE champion of the winner of the match at Battleground will have the option to decide what show he'll be on. Now, as for who will be actually running Raw and SmackDown, for me, I don't want to have the McMahons involved at all. I want them to be on TV as little as possible. In fact, I want my general managers to be on TV as little as possible. I'm kind of aping the role that current NXT general manager William Regal has, where he only shows up to announce, this is a match, settle this, fight, go. So for that, Vince will come out and say, I'm neither giving it to you, Stephanie, or you, Shane. I need someone who understands competition. I apologize now to Mr. McMahon for that. That was horrible. Vince comes out and says he won't be giving it to Shane, he won't be giving it to Stephanie. He's going to bring in some ex-wrestlers to run it. For Raw, he can think of no one better to help Raw cultivate its more edgy style than the rated R superstar Edge. And for SmackDown, he needs someone who really knows what it takes to bring a B show to a higher level. He needs someone who has a great connection with the fans. And that's why the SmackDown general manager will be Daniel Bryan. I can dream. It's announced that all draft picks will take place on this episode of Raw, and the draft order will be determined at the start by a coin flip. We're going to kind of ape somewhat of the NFL draft style, as opposed to more NBA lottery style. So the general managers will have direct picks. Edge wins the opening coin toss, and he selects Roman Reigns, the current WWE champion. Counter Daniel Bryan, of course, selects Seth Rollins, since they'll be having a match at Battleground. I'm assuming this is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. This is recorded before Money in the Bank. Edge, coping to his ultimate opportunist gimmick, chastises Bryan for not taking the real number 1 pick and selects John Cena. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm going to have Roman Reigns and John Cena on the same show? Yes. I want Raw to be pretty much everything synonymous with current WWE. I want SmackDown to develop its own and a different flavor, so there's a distinct break between the two brands. It's not a case of Monday you're watching WWE Raw, Tuesday you're watching WWE SmackDown, and in addition to NXT, I want them all to feel different. To ape that sort of mentality of SmackDown being the kind of other guys, I want Bryan to shrug off the comment, saying, we won't need Cena on SmackDown when we have the WWE World Tag Team Champions, and selects the New Day. Again, I am sorry, I am so white. This establishes the rules that teams will be drafted as a block of picks. So to summarize, Edge has picked 2 superstars where Bryan has selected 4. Edge, with his 3rd pick, claims the Intercontinental title by selecting The Miz. Bryan takes Rusev to take the U.S. title. Edge drafts Charlotte and the Divas Championship to Raw. Champions have been drafted. Daniel Bryan drafts AJ Styles, Edge drafts Dean Ambrose. Ending the segment, Bryan drafts Cesaro. Later in the night, after a perpetual motion cycle that is a Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn segment, Edge comes out to take Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan takes Kevin Owens. Yes, we're going to split them apart. We can at any time do any sort of invasion to bring them back together. You can perpetually put Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn together, have good things happen. Later in the night, Edge asks his next 4 picks and selects the entire Wyatt family. Bryan, of course, having a history with Wyatt, applauds the choice of Edge, but laughs that Edge missed his chance to get this superstar for his women's division. Of course, talking about the boss, Sasha Banks. This gives not only SmackDown a big pop, but it gives Sasha a chance to return. This is a theme we're going to go with, where SmackDown's going to be kind of seen as the other guys, with a few surprise returns and maybe potentially a debut later in the night. Edge sees what Bryan's doing and comments, well, what good will your tag team division be without challengers for your champs, and selects the Vaudevillains. Bryan drafts the Lucha Dragons, that leads them to a match. Edge drafts Enzo and Cass to Raw, Bryan drafts the Club. Now with going for this distinct younger superstar feel, Edge goes, I'm going to take a guy I see a lot of talent in. I'm going to take a guy who I don't think's gotten a fair crack. Edge drafts Apollo Crews. Bryan says, I'm going to take a guy who's not like anyone else on the roster, and selects Baron Corbin, leading to a Baron Corbin-Apollo Crews match. And then throughout the night, the little ticker that's usually reserved for Twitter, on the bottom of that, you'll see, much like in the NFL draft, superstars get drafted across there who aren't, really big current names, or don't really have any purpose to have their own separate, the GM saying their name. So guys like Ziggler or Ryder, some lower tier divas, Titus O'Neil, Darren Young, Dudley Boys, they all get drafted. They go to those shows. Edge drafts Del Rio. Bryan drafts Sheamus to set up a match during the night. Then towards the end of the night, Edge drafts Becky Lynch. Bryan drafts Neville. Edge then proclaims he'll draft the final woman to complete his women's division, and drafts Dana Brooke. Bryan notes that it looks like the rosters are going to appear uneven, but he heard a rumor that a young talent was in the building, and if Edge is okay with it, he would like to draft them to SmackDown. Edge, of course, agrees. This is where we debut the one exception from NXT, Bayley. Bayley should be on the main roster. Huge thunderous applause, because now it also sets in mind that Sasha Banks, Bayley, will be on the same brand. Bayley then smashes Dana Brooke. Swagger, Shining Stars, and the Social Outcasts are all drafted in the lower ticker. To close out the show, Edge comments on his most recent draft of the Social Outcasts, saying it's a team that never really got its fair shake. He reminisces upon being with Christian, and always being kind of labeled as a novelty act. Fights the Social Outcast to the ring, which Bryan says with his last 3 pick, he's going to go in a completely different direction. He's going to give SmackDown a layer of veteran stability and leadership by drafting Chris Jericho, his good friend and now fully returning Kane in actual mask and not suit, and to close out the night, a returning Randy Orton. They destroy the Social Outcasts. Now, SmackDown will go normal because it hasn't fully embraced the brand split. Then we come to the next week on Raw, which is the Go Home Before Battleground. Show opens with Roman Reigns coming out saying whatever thing he wants to say about him being the guy, and makes the prediction he'll win and bring the title back to Raw, because the guy should have the title on the show. He would actually make this promo, and it would sound that, wouldn't it? Then you have Miz come out and say, well, what happens if the guy loses the title? Well, I guess then my title becomes the title. Really kind of drumming up this idea that the world title is only going to be on one show, so the mid-card titles, the US and the Intercontinental title, will be elevated to the main event title. This leads to a main event match between Miz and Roman. Miz lets Roman win because he doesn't need to beat Roman. Leaves the ring, Roman wins by countout. SmackDown, this is truly the go home before Battleground. Seth, who's going to be fully face, he's going to be the biggest face on SmackDown because it's really hard to boo this guy. Seth cuts a face promo, says how he's going to return the favor from Bryan and the fans for believing in him and bring the title to SmackDown. Rusev cuts a similar promo to what Miz did on Raw, saying, when you fail, I'll be the champion of SmackDown. Main event is Seth versus Rusev. Seth actually wins by disqualification after Rusev or Lana does some kind of shenanigans. As for Battleground itself, whatever feuds we're going into will be blown off. Hopefully that'll tie any outstanding ones that are on the same show, tie those up. But in the main event in the championship match, the two GMs, Edge and Daniel Bryan, will be at ringside just before the match starts. Vince's music hits, he comes down ringside and shakes both their hands. The match goes on. Seth makes Roman look great, as he can because he's phenomenal. Sorry, AJ. And at the close, Seth points to Bryan and then lowers one of his knee pads to expose the knee. Paying homage to Bryan, lines up Roman for the running knee, hits it. As he goes for the pin, you hear 1, 2, and a blue towel hits the referee. Vince is on the apron, pointing at Seth. The towel was for his sake to stop the match. The ref has no choice but to call the match. Roman's declared the victor. Vince calls for trainers to take Roman to the back, and Edge and Bryan are trying to get an explanation. As Vince is going up the ramp, he turns to the crowd and simply says, "Over my dead body, the title's starting out on the B show." And I'm going to leave it at there because I have way too much to go into for both Raw and SmackDown over the next series of months to conclude it in one video. So I'm going to put those in separate videos, here and here. Pick which one you like, and then, be sure to watch the others. If you think I'm a mad genius, give this video a like. If you think I'm a mad imbecile, well, the dislike button's over there. Leave me a comment of how you would set up the pre-split WWE, and I will see you in the next video.